All right, Forgotten City, Chapter 7. No one spoke much for the next 90 minutes or so, communicating only with hand signals and occasional mutterings. This way. Stop. Go. Watch the angles. In some ways, Kobe found it easier than using words. At least he knew he wasn't missing anything in the other's tones or glances or the hundred other ways the three friends could understand one another that he seemed separated from. Sometimes Theon would drop back behind the others, worrying Asha, but he soon reappeared like a pale ghost in the foliage. They reached the bridge just as the sun was drifting above the giant sycamores. With every 30 feet of progress, Kobe began to calm. We're going to make it. We're nearly home. By the time they made it to the other side, he felt relaxed enough to speak properly. With Asha sticking close to Theon, he dropped back until he was next to Nikki. You said you were looking for survivors, he said. Why? How do I know? She said. Trust me, I wish I'd never agreed to come. Asha must have heard because she edged nearer with Theon. All the Guardians told us is that there could be people in the city, she said before pausing. They knew we could help find them. There seemed something left unsaid, but she didn't offer anything more. And you're from somewhere called Heelholm, continued Kobe. So it isn't inside the city somewhere? Nikki laughed, like he'd said something funny. It isn't in a Seattle high school, if that's what you mean. No, said Asha, giving Nikki a slight shove. It's a quarantined facility. A facility? What did that mean? He pictured a compound protected with fences and guards and masks. Or was it a group of buildings, more like a town? And you flew here in one of those transports? No, we took the bus, said Nikki. Kobe was taken back. Nikki, he's just curious, said Asha. I know, but let's save the question. Seriously, how much farther is this base of yours? Not far, said Kobe. He didn't want to irritate Nikki, but he couldn't help but asking. The Guardians. If they're not your parents, who are they? Nikki puffed out her cheeks. Asha shot her a look. Scientists mostly, Asha said. Some teachers. They're looking for a cure. And have they found one? Not yet, said Asha sadly. Then she smiled. But they will. Kobe smiled back. He couldn't believe it, and neither would his dad. There were others working to fight the waste. After so long thinking they were alone, who knew what new breakthroughs might just be around the corner? How many of you are there? Kids, said Asha. 13, ranging from 11 to 16. Guardians, I don't know, maybe 10 times that. And you all live in Heelholm? What about outside? There is no outside, said Nikki impatiently. Well, there is, but it's all like this. She jerked her chin at the view, wearing a look of disgust. They don't let us out, said Asha. The risk of contagion is too great. Kobe remembered the strange disparity between the suited adults and the kids. But you're here now, breathing the air, touching things. You must get infected. We're already infected, said Asha matter of factly. For some reason, we're non contagious, though. The Guardians think it's because We were exposed while our mothers were pregnant. Maybe that's what happened to you, too? Kobe nodded. Yes, that's what my dad thinks. So where do you think he is now? Kobe paused a moment before answering. They'd reached the place where the chokers had nearly pulled him underground after his stupid attempt at a long jump record. I don't know, he said. He went to visit his lab in the city to do tests. He's looking for a cure too. For himself? Yes, said Kobe. He managed to take some of my antibodies and synthesize them to create medication. It's not 100%, but it helps him. I guess he always hoped there'd be others too. Asha seemed to be thinking hard for a moment. You've been living out here in the wastelands all your life, just you and your dad? Kobe nodded. He sounds like a cool guy, Asha continued. Kobe felt a flush of pride. Yeah, he is. Cool. They took the longer route to bypass the choker chasm, and soon they were passing through the trees toward the school. Fresh plants had already sprouted from the roots and plants he'd cut away. As they went, Kobe felt his steps quicken a little and realized that he was letting a new hope creep into his head. What if my dad's made it back while I was away? He forced himself to slow. And as they broke through the tree line in front of the overgrown front steps, Kobe saw the padlocks were still in place on the outside of the door. His heart sank. It was a silly thought anyway. "This is it?" said Nicky, sounding distinctly unimpressed, as Kobe stooped to unfasten the lower lock. From the corner of his eye, he saw Asha shove her and mouth something. He felt himself liking the tall girl more and more. He twisted the key in the second padlock, then peeled away the tape. "Stay close to me," he said. "There are traps inside." Fionn doubled up with a gasp. "We need to hurry," said Asha. Kobe opened the door, and the other two half carried the sick boy inside. Kobe hurriedly completed the door sealing and decontaminating protocols. Asha turned and watched him with a concerned frown. Nicky sighed loudly. "Really?" she said. Kobe ignored her. He finished in a few moments, and they passed along the corridor to the fringes in the science rooms. Despite the circumstances, it felt good to be back. He noticed Nicky casting her gaze about the place, but Kobe couldn't read her expression. Kobe passed a length of rubber tubing to Asha. "Extend his right arm and tie this above his elbow." He'd administered his dad's shots 100 times, a training precaution in case his father was ever incapable. He knew what he was doing. Asha laid out Fion's arm and tied the ligature while Kobe went to the fridge and took out a vial of waste cleanser, then unwrapped a syringe from a sterile package. He suctioned up the clear liquid, then pressed the excess air out. Fion's eyes were rolling back into his head. "Hurry," said Asha. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Nicky suspiciously. "I hope so," said Kobe. He located a blue vein and concentrated, with his tongue between his teeth. Fionn didn't react as the needle pierced his skin. Kobe pressed home the syringe's plunger. The effect was almost instantaneous. Fionn blinked rapidly and sat up with a deep breath. His eyes were alert and color rushed into his cheeks. He seemed a little unsure where he was at first, but offered a shy smile when his eyes landed on Asha. Kobe smiled and felt a small pang of jealousy. Fionn and Asha seemed almost like brother and sister. Nicky nodded with a kind of begrudging satisfaction. "You did it," said Asha. Kobe breathed a long sigh of relief, but its dad's voice kicked in almost at once. "Follow the protocols, Kobe. No slacking." "We need to decontaminate before we head out again," he said. "We'll all be carrying waste spores on our clothes. We can refuel and have a bit of a rest." Fionn stood up a little shakily. "Where's the decon chamber?" said Nicky. "School showers are fourth door down on the left, in the changing room," said Kobe. "And the girls?" said Asha. Kobe frowned, confused. "The girls' changing room?" said Nicky. "Oh, I never, We'll find them," said Asha. "Don't worry." Nicky rolled her eyes. "I'll get some bags to seal your clothes for the laundry," said Kobe, trying not to get angry. "There's all kinds of stuff in the lost and found. Something will fit." "Great," said Nicky, sounding like she couldn't have meant it less. As he showered, Kobe couldn't help his thoughts carrying him away. Survivors. His dad had always told him the chances of ever coming into contact with any, even if they walked 1,000 miles or crossed the ocean, were close to zero, but here they are. Flesh and blood. At least he thought they were. After his strange dream in the hospital, what if this was just his mind playing tricks as well? Maybe he'd wake up and be back in the empty school. It felt a bit dumb, but he closed his eyes and said to himself, "Wake up." Nope, still here, still real. And they weren't any old survivors, not just desperate people toughing it out like him and Dad. They seemed organized, comfortable by the sounds of it. They had technology and transports, medical care, and proper research in its place they called the Heal Home. Surely they could help him track down his father. And what then? Life would change completely without a doubt. Food, safety, medicine for his dad. Asha seemed nice, and Fionn too, even if he didn't speak. Nikki wasn't very friendly, but 2 out of the 3 wasn't bad. And anyway, she was probably just scared. Her first time away from the quarantine facility. Kobe dried himself, changed into clean clothes, and was waiting in the corridor as the others emerged. Asha had managed to find a Bill Gates sports uniform of blue shorts and a white t shirt, plus some tennis shoes, while Fionn had gone for cargo shorts and a shirt that hung practically down to his knees. He wore high tops with the laces hanging out. Of the 3 of them, Nikki seemed to have done best, with a pair of jeans, a cheerleading jacket, and sneakers. You hungry? He asked them. Sure, said Asha. Then follow me, said Kobe. The newcomers gazed around in wonder as he led them through the school, past the huge cafeteria, the music rooms, and the library. He guessed they had never been in one before. He and his dad had always slept in the old gym. They'd moved some beds from the nurse's office, and there were 2 comfy couches to relax on, and a camping stove for cooking. Old mats were spread across the floor, providing some insulation. The cabinets were pretty empty, especially after his last aborted forage. He thought about more barks, but he could just imagine Nikki's face. So instead, he went into this special occasion cabinet, taking out 2 large cans of sausages and baked beans. He figured that soon food wouldn't be an issue anyway. Heal Home, wherever it was, must have enough food to support all the kids and adults there. Asha and Nikki didn't look malnourished. Take a seat, he said as he poured the cans into a pan on the camp stove. He lit the gas with a flint and steel, and soon mouth-watering smells filled the room. Fionn nudged Kobe, smiling. The young boy raised his hands and made a shape with them. On the back of the wall of the gym, a shadow butterfly fluttered in the glow from the gas fire. Kobe grinned. That's nothing. He raised his own hands, making the shape of a lynx, forming the creature's long ears by extending his thumbs. No one's impressed, said Nikki. She turned away, and as she did so, Fionn caught Kobe's eye, placing his palms together, the fingers forming a snout, and the space beneath the thumb making an eye. A wolf! Fionn made the shadow wolf bite down on Nikki's head. Asha and Kobe stifled laughs. Nikki turned around, frowning. Honestly, you guys are such babies laughing at shadow puppets. Hey, do you mind if we look around? Asked Asha. Kobe frowned. Of course, help yourselves. Just don't touch any of the windows or door seals. Nikki remained flopped on the sofa, but Fionn went straight to a set of shelves that Kobe used for his books and old comics. He started taking them out and staring at the pages in wonder. Don't you have books at your place? Kobe asked Asha, who was looking at one of the medical posters still tacked to the wall. Not many, she said. There's a whole library here, said Kobe as he stirred the beans. Shame we won't be staying long enough to enjoy it, muttered Nikki. Do you have any sort of radio transmitter? We need to get in touch with the Guardians. Just a receiver, said Kobe. They used to pick up electromagnetic disturbance emitted by snatchers rather than distress calls. He stirred the beans again, ignoring Nikki as she rolled her eyes and made a huffing sound. It did make Kobe wonder. Why hadn't his dad ever tried to contact anyone with some kind of radio? If they could receive radio frequencies, why couldn't they send them out? Who knows? Kobe and his dad might have met up with these guardians years ago. He pushed the thought from his mind. What was done was done. We shouldn't leave it more than an hour before we head back to the transport. There are tools we could use to break open the door. Go out there again, said Nikki. No way. The Guardians will find us here. We can create a smoke signal or something. Anyways, I'm exhausted. I've been up all night. A smoke signal wouldn't be a good idea, said Kobe. They'll be out here looking for us soon, said Asha. We need to stay near the transport. Kobe spooned out the beans and sausages onto 4 plates and handed them out with forks. Thank you, said Asha. Theon nodded and smiled and began to eat at once, gasping as he shoveled the food into his mouth. Careful, said Kobe, they're hot. Nikki looked at the plate doubtfully. What is it? She said. Just eat it, Nick, said Asha, or I will. Kobe forced himself to take his time, savoring every mouthful, but it was still over far too soon. I have some hot chocolate too, he said. What's chocolate? Asked Asha. Kobe stared at her in disbelief. Seriously? You've never had chocolate? Asha shook her head. So what are you eating, Heelholm? Asked Kobe. We're self-sufficient, cut in Nikki. The Guardians take care of our diet with a mixture of synthetic protein and vitamins, supplements, plus vegetables grown at the facility. Right, said Kobe. Well, wait until you try Chocoholic. As he waited for the water to boil to mix the drinks, he tried to find out more about the place they call Heelholm. Apparently, it was built in an old military skyscraper with many floors dedicated to a different aspect of survival in the wastelands. Waste research, living quarters, food production, technology, transport. Heelholm is totally quarantined, Nikki finished explaining. Totally. Her gaze swept slowly around the hall. There are decontaminated chambers with vacuum suction pipes, herbicide baths for hazsuits, guards who protect us 24/7, computerized perimeter guns, all that kind of stuff. Guess it's what you'd expect from scientists and ex-military. She squinted as she inspected the school gym, as if she might suddenly uncover a secret platoon of guards or robotic sentry guns that she'd missed. This place must be teeming with waste. Kobe was too absorbed by Nikki's description of Heelholm to rise to her obvious goading. We have our protocols, Kobe said. We tape the doors and the vents. We shower. Oh, yes, the shower, said Nikki. That's totally foolproof. Kobe's hands tensed on the kettle and water spilled over the side of one of the cups. He put down the kettle. I risked my life trying to save you from the chokers, he said. I invited you back here to look after Theon when I needed to go find my dad. The least you could do is be nice. Asha tensed. Theon looked alarmed, but Nikki just glared for a moment. Then her eyes softened. I'm sorry, she said, as if suddenly tired. This is strange for us. The mission was just to locate survivors. We never expected any... She waved her hands around the room. Any of this. Kobe wiped up the spilled water. It's okay, he said. It's weird for me, too. My dad and I thought it would always just be us. I guess he didn't want to give us false hope. He handed around the steaming mugs. But I don't get it. Why bring you out here to find us? No offense, but you're just kids. No offense taken, said Nikki, but we're not normal kids. And you're not either. We saw what you did to the handle of the transport door. What else can you do? What do you mean? Asked Kobe. What other abilities do you have? Asked Asha. She sipped the hot chocolate. This stuff is amazing, by the way. Kobe shrugged, a little embarrassed. I can jump long distances, run fast. I heal quickly. I bench press 400. Besides strength and enhanced regeneration, said Asha. Those are baseline abilities. We all have those, at least to some degree. Maybe not as much as you, but do you have any specialty? Oh, said Kobe. I don't know. That's it, I guess. He recalled the shock Nikki had given him. The thing with the electricity, is that a specialty? Because of the waste? Nikki nodded, then reached across toward Theon. She wiggled her fingers, and Theon's hair fluttered up to stand on end. The young boy giggled. I can create and pick up electrical signals, said Nikki. The waste changed my nerve endings. The Guardians thought that if survivors were using an electrical device, I'd be able to sense it. What about Theon? Kobe asked Asha. He's a projector, replied the tall girl, taking a sip of her drink. Seriously, we need to tell the Guardians to get some of this stuff. They'll never go for it, said Nikki. Fion's able to transmit his brain waves to other organisms that have been affected by waste contamination, said Asha. If the connection's good, he can communicate, manipulate even. We thought he might be able to talk to survivors from a distance. Kobe stared at the young boy who smiled back. If he was trying to communicate now, Kobe couldn't sense it. Then he remembered the voice he'd heard in his dream at the medical center, a boy's voice. In all the terror, it had been the one comforting sound. Could that have been Fion? He thought of the odd prickling headache he felt as he woke. Recently, he'd been having other headaches like that. Maybe that was Fion trying to contact him from afar. And you? He asked Asha. I'm a receptor, said the older girl. A sort of empath. I can sense the presence of organisms that have been contaminated with waste. It means I can kind of understand Fion because he sends his thoughts to me. She's a mind reader, said Nikki. Not really, Asha protested. Most of the time it's more like getting vague emotions. Kobe grinned. Can you tell what I'm thinking now? Asha cocked her head. I don't need to. You're thinking you'd like to be able to do this too. But trust me, it's not that great. And the Guardians thought you could find me? Said Kobe. I did find you, said Asha. That's why we were in the vicinity. A thought leaped into Kobe's head. So you could use your powers to sense my dad too. I could, said Asha, but I didn't pick anything up when we were in the city. Oh, said Kobe. That doesn't mean he's not there, added Asha quickly. I sense all waste infected organic material, flora and fauna, so sometimes it's confusing. Kobe tried to put on a smile. He knew that with every moment that went by, his father would be growing weaker. But with the four of them, and maybe the Guardians too, they had a great chance of tracking his dad. So have all the other kids got powers too? The ones who survived, said Nikki, her tone blank. Kobe felt the mood in the room darkening. Asha spoke quietly. We came to Heal Home over a period of about 3 years, all babies, all waste infected and potentially contagious. They give us the cleansers to try to wipe the waste from our bodies, but they aren't completely effective. Kobe noticed Asha called the drugs used by the Guardians cleansers, just like Kobe and his dad. Must be a coincidence. Some died pretty quickly, Asha continued. The rest of us are still alive, but our conditions are getting worse. The cleansers don't completely destroy waste from our systems. Nothing can heal the damage waste does each time. Her eyes took on a sorrowful sheen, and Kobe realized what she was saying. They're all living under a death sentence, and that's why the Guardians keep them so tightly quarantined, and why they only get healthy food. I have plenty of waste cleansers here, he said. They last 6 days max on my dad, depending on how exposed he is to the waste. But if you're already resistant, they'll probably work even better for you. Thank you, said Asha. Fion jerked his head. Fion says he feels better than ever, by the way. Your dad is obviously an amazing scientist. Kobe blushed. He is. He wondered if any of his visitors knew anything about their parents, but he guessed not if they had been at Heal Home since they were babies. You said the drugs would probably work better for us, said Nikki. Does that mean they do for you? I don't take them, said Kobe. I'm immune. Their faces all jerked towards him. Very funny, said Nikki. I'm serious, said Kobe. Completely, said Asha. So you don't take any medication? Kobe nodded. Only some vitamin pills because our diet's not great. Dad's paranoid about me getting sick. But I stopped taking those not long after he left. Seemed pointless. But how is that possible, said Nikki. No one's immune. Kobe shrugged. That's why my dad goes to those labs. He runs tests on my blood samples looking for a cure. I guess that explains why the Guardian's dart didn't bring you down, said Asha. She pointed to the rifle leaning up against the wall. The compound reacts with waste-contaminated cells in the nervous system. They only had it on the lowest setting, D1, but it should have been enough to bring down a person. But you must be infected, said Nikki. Your enhanced strength and speed. Dad says my mom became infected when she was pregnant with me, that's all. She had me just in time before well, I'm sorry, said Asha, lowering her gaze. It's okay, said Kobe. I never knew her. It was harder for him, I think. We need to get you back to the Guardian, said Asha. They're going to go nuts when they hear about this. I need to find my dad, though, he said. So you keep saying, said Nikki. How do you even know he's still alive? Nick, cried Asha, shocked. She turned to Kobe and smiled. With the Guardian's help, we'll track him down in no time, she said. I'm not moving, said Nikki. They'll find us here eventually. We'll find a way to make a signal. Anyway, we can't go outside. You saw what those plants did. I know how to avoid the chokers, added Kobe. Asha nodded. And we'll be prepared this time. She picked up the rifle and cracked out the magazine. 7 rounds left. Can I see? Asked Kobe. Asha paused, shared a glance with Kobe, then said, Sure. She flicked the safety and handed the weapon over. Kobe's dad had sometimes carried a hunting rifle, but he didn't like to use it because of the noise. We normally just use crossbows, he muttered. The dart rifle looked like much more advanced tech. It was made of some sort of hard resin rather than metal, lightweight and sleek. There was a dimmed digital display on the back. It was only as he turned it over to hand it back that he noticed raised letters on the stock, black as well and almost invisible. He almost dropped it, blood draining from his face. The letters, in the familiar font, read, Claws. What's the matter? Asked Asha. Kobe stood up, backing toward the door. That didn't make any sense. Claws, just like the Snatcher. Hey, give that back, said Nikki, climbing off the couch menacingly. Kobe fiddled, fingers awkward, and took off the safety, pointing the gun at the younger girl. Whoa, said Asha. Kobe, what are you doing? Who are you? He asked.